Hi, my name is Schanze. Since 2016, I'm working on the SERISS project, and I'm one of the persons responsible for task 2.5, which was mainly concerned with the institutionalized population, meaning residents living in retirement homes, prisons, refugee accommodations, and other institutions who are usually left out of most social surveys. And we investigated this population and examined whether it might be necessary to include them in social surveys and how it could be done. So as I said in my introduction, usually institutionalized residents are left out of most social surveys. They are a very small part of the population, usually in European countries less than 2% of the overall population. But nevertheless, they are very distinct and they are a very heterogeneous group with very special characteristics. And if you have a look at the age distribution, the number of people gets larger in the older age cohorts, because as you can imagine, many people living in retirement and nursing homes, they are a larger fraction of the overall population. And so survey researchers usually ask themselves whether the exclusion of institutionalized residents might cause any bias in their samples, especially due to the size and the statistical distinctiveness, meaning they are very different. They are less healthy, they might be older, they might have cognitive impairments, and this is a reason that might cause bias in some variables. So institutionalized residents are a hard to survey group of the population. And this is another reason why they are excluded from most social surveys. But in the SERISS project, we started to search for survey programs that actually cover institutionalized residents. And we found a whole bunch of survey programs that cover them. So around 150 survey programs were identified that cover institutions at least to a certain extent in Europe, in the USA, in Canada, in Australia, and other countries. So we were able to identify those survey programs and could look into their methodological reports to see how they actually cover institutions, whether they are really hard to survey and whether it's possible to survey them with certain methods, certain sampling strategies, for instance. So we compiled something like a survey inventory that's also available, that is also available online for everyone who's interested in it. So it's a nice resource if you want to have a look into the survey inventory to see whether there are surveys in your country with the topic that you want to address that also covered institutions. So once you draw a sample of institutions, the next challenge will be gatekeepers. So gatekeepers are the persons who are running the institution. So this is a very usual barrier in institutions. So they might be a problem if you want to get an interview with an institutionalized resident. And we had a look at in the expert survey and also in the literature and in the methodological reports how survey programs actually address those gatekeepers. So you need to acknowledge the role of gatekeepers, obviously. So they are there and you need to overcome them somehow. And you need to think about their motives. So why do they block interviewers from getting into the institution? Usually there are some legal constraints. Sometimes they want to protect the citizens. Sometimes there are just organizational rules that need to be obeyed. And if you acknowledge their role and if you sometimes address them with advance letters, with separate advance letters, you might succeed in getting access to the institution, even if there is a gatekeeper. So in our SERISS deliverable, we compiled all those practices regarding the sampling design, regarding gatekeepers, and regarding fieldwork procedures and potential adaptations. Obviously, survey programs need to think about the way they want to address institutionalized residents while sticking to certain standards. On the other hand, we thought about how to include institutions, but it might also help you to include hard to survey respondents living in private households. So obviously there are people with cognitive impairments living in private households, people with language barriers living in private households. So those residents might also benefit from the effort you pay to get access to institutions. So if you want to run your own survey program among institutionalized residents in your country or even across countries, you might want to have a look in the SERISS survey inventory, which is available at seriss.eu, and you can see whether there's any survey program that could help you to develop your own methods while covering institutions.